Hello and welcome to another episode of today's Conversations on Leadership, powered by Life University. I'm your host, Dr. Gilles LaMarche. As I do before every episode, I try to pick a quote that I believe exemplifies the individual that we're interviewing today, especially when I know them. And so I think that the quote that I picked for this lady will be perfect for her. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. And I've seen this lady in action, and I know that on a day-to-day basis, she certainly does that with her entire team at the Cobb Library System. And it's a great joy to welcome Miss Helen Poyer today. Serving the community has been a lifelong career for Helen. After graduating from the State University of New York with a Master's of Library Science degree, she focused her work in reference and adult services at the Fountaindale Public Library District, Bolingbrook, Illinois. I was actually just there, just outside of Chicago on the weekend, since my son lives in Naperville. And the weather was great, by the way. There, she found her passion as an outreach coordinator and launched a highly visible community outreach program for the library. She brought this vision with her when she joined the Cobb County Public Library System in 2006. In 2009, just three short years later, Helen was named director of Cobb County Public Library System. As a director, she is pushing forward with her objectives to broaden library outreach, strengthen community partnerships, improve library facilities, and stay on top of emerging technology. And I can tell you that she has done that so well in all the libraries I've had an opportunity to visit. And certainly as the president of the Cobb Library Foundation, I've had the delight of working with Helen and seeing Helen on a regular basis. So Helen, thanks so much for taking the time to join us for today's Conversations on Leadership. I know you'll have a lot to share with our audience, so welcome.
Well, it's my pleasure being here. Thank you.
So let's get right into it, because we like to keep our podcast short and sweet and to the point so that people learn, but can learn quickly. My first question to you really has to do with mentorship. Can you name a person or describe a person that had a tremendous impact on you as you emerge into a leader? You know, like maybe someone that you mentored with you, and tell us why that person actually had that impact.
I was fortunate to have a few mentors through the years in my professional career. I will say, though, that personally, it was my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. He was a columnist and a news reporter. Now, growing up, I didn't pay much attention to what he did, but as I got older and when he retired, he became very active with senior citizens and in politics. He became a city council member, and I watched his style of leadership. He was a humble man. He listened well. He overcame obstacles because he had a slight stutter. So I learned from him that you persevere, you don't give up, you treat all people with respect, you listen, and you grow and you learn from others. Now, in my profession, I had a director, and she's the one that saw in me what I didn't see in me. And that was outreach. I was, again, an adult in reference services. That's where my comfort zone, it was very comfortable in that role. And she came to me one day, she said, we're going to start a bookmobile. Now, this is in a Chicago suburb. So people say, why do you need a bookmobile in a suburban setting? But she said, we're going to have a bookmobile, and I want you to lead the development of the service and outreach. I knew nothing about bookmobile service, but it became my passion. I learned how to drive it. I was the backup to the backup to the backup. But she, and I try to do that with our team. You get to know your staff, you get to know their strengths, their weaknesses, and then you give them a little nudge when you think that there's a little hesitancy that, this may be out of my comfort zone, but you have confidence that they can achieve. And so people that saw possibilities in me, and then watching other leaders, their styles, what seemed to work well in a team setting, I've tried to adopt. And again, I think I'm one that my door is always open. I want to listen to what people have to say. We're always learning. I don't know everything, but you want to surround yourself with people that do know. And that really makes for a dynamic team.
No, I love you. I love your insight on that, because certainly treating people with respect should be at the top of every leader's thought process. And also, when you said, giving your team members a little nudge, that when you notice that they could accomplish so much more, or they had their abilities are so much greater than what they're totally, using in the moment, giving them that little nudge could really shift not only that person, but can actually shift the organization. And so leaders
Absolutely.
that have that level of attention.
Right. Well, and you're aware of our GIS, the Geographical Information System, and it was getting to know our staff members and some of their interests and their skills. So we were able to identify two people. One has an accounting background, and the other one started out as a volunteer in our library system, but now is going to Kennesaw State University in GIS. And it was bringing them together, and what they are doing for our library system is just amazing. We're using our data to visually tell our story.
And to know exactly where the people are coming from, and
Where the people
where
are
our
coming.
books are going to, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
what services they're requiring, right? So obviously, one of the great attributes of a leader is being attentive and paying attention, and being intentional with that.
Right. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
I've seen you do that very well. So congratulations and
Oh,
thank you for doing that.
thank you.
So when we look at the Cobb County Public Library System, your organization, what's the most important to you? Mission, core values, vision, a combination of all? What is it that you really focus on to drive the organization forward, and to have brought it at the level of service delivery? Because there's no doubt that anyone who's attended any of the libraries in Cobb County know that the service they receive there is second to none. I mean, it's like going to the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, you've crafted that into your people. So what is it that's driven you to bring them to that level?
I think it's a combination of all three. I can say for our team, we bring them to the table. So it's not just me making the decision or saying this is what our mission is, our vision, our core values. We do some strategic planning, and we do what's called brainwriting. We have found that when you brainstorm, not everyone is comfortable sharing their ideas. They don't want to sound like, this is a stupid response to this question. So we brainwrite. So everyone writes their ideas, their thoughts, and that way we get more input from the team. So in developing our mission is key. It's what we're all about. We want to be that vital resource center in the community where all people have access to information, resources, materials to enrich their lives. Our vision is to go beyond being a traditional library by incorporating some of the technology, by being a gathering place, a cultural center, again, to enrich the lives of the people. Our values, it's teamwork, integrity, respect, inclusion. And the county also has core values that we follow as well. So we live those values. We can say that we have a diverse team that is committed to service, and they serve with integrity. And it's something that we have our core, you will see our mission and our vision statements on our goals and objectives, on presentations. We always want to keep it in the forefront of our team. This is why we're here. This is where we want to go. And again, our values are key.
So your brainwriting strategy is a new strategy for me. I've done what we refer to as mind mapping, get on a whiteboard and mind map and go everywhere. Can you share with the audience a little bit more? So the brain mapping, is it done like in private? Each person submits their ideas and then they're all put into a pot? How do you work that brainwriting?
Yes, so it's just like brainstorming. So instead of everyone just shouting out ideas, you write it down, and then we collect those ideas. So it's usually geared on a topic. So when we had our strategic plan, we were looking at core values. So again, give your top 3 thoughts on what our core values should be. Um, and they would write down those values, we would collect them, and pretty much put them in a pot. When we were looking at our goals.
You do that collectively though? Like everybody's
Yes.
sitting at the same table when you're brainwriting?
Everybody is in the same room.
Okay, good.
And everybody is writing their thoughts down and passing them in. We will share. We don't say who submitted unless that person wants to identify. So again, it's a way of getting more involvement from the team, so everyone feels, and I'm sure sometimes when you're talking aloud or you're brainstorming, you may have a couple that are just those aggressive people, and they're going to respond to all the questions, give all the answers. And there may be someone sitting next to that person that has a great idea, but is hesitant to share it, somewhat drowned out. So as a facilitator, of course, you want to control those overachievers, if you will. But we have found that brainwriting gets more people involved in the process.
So if you were going to just pick a number, approximately the greater percentage of involvement by going to brainwriting from brainstorming, are people like 10%, 20%, 50% more involved?
I would say we're more than 50% involved.
Wow.
The expectation is that, everyone has paper and a pencil. And so the expectation is that everyone has an idea.
Beautiful.
Everyone has an idea. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I've never heard of that idea.
Okay.
I will take that under advisement as a new lesson learned on today's conversation on leadership, which is really the goal, is to get ideas from people in different walks of leadership, whether it's library or military or politics or education or the world of business. People come up with ideas sometimes that they share with their team, but it never gets beyond your team. And by hosting this podcast, now there will be organizations in Cobb County and around the world who may start using brainwriting because Mrs. Helen Poyer talked about it on today's conversation on leadership. So what a great idea. I love it. My last question for our short podcast time together, what are you doing to ensure that you continually grow and you continually develop as a leader? Because we know that, leadership is not like having your feet in the quicksand. It's being pretty mobile, being pretty versatile. And we've got to have a strategy, I believe, by which we as individuals can actually improve. So what are your strategies? How do you do that?
Well, besides the obvious, looking for conferences, webinars, workshops, that professional development piece of our lives, just working with other people, networking. Right now, I'm serving as a coach for Georgia State, the Georgia Public Library Services, which is the state library. And they have a leadership program. It's called Pinnacle. And they have people are nominated and selected across the state to participate in this leadership program. And I'm a coach of 4 of those participants. And our first time together, I was learning from them. My role is to kind of coach them, give them opportunities, share experiences. But when you sit down and start talking to different people, learn about the Peace Corps. One was in the Peace Corps, and how did her experiences translate into the work that she's doing in the library? Someone was part of a military family, traveled all over the world. How did those experiences translate into her work? So for me, I'm always learning from other people, mentors, coaches, people like you. I just highly respect how you lead your foundation that has served us so well. So I think every day gives an opportunity to learn, whether it's the standard classes, workshops, or just talking to people, or reading a book.
Absolutely, reading a book. I'm glad you brought that one up. I was going to bring up, one of my great friends that you had an opportunity to meet on Zoom last year, Mark Victor Hansen, uses a statement: when you're green, you're growing; when you're ripe, you're rotten. And he said, what that meant to him is that when you see yourself as a continuous learner, as someone who's continuously wanting and willing to do what it takes to improve, you continue to grow. When you continue to grow, you can serve in different levels, you can serve in different capacities. Now you're serving as a coach. While you're serving as a coach, you're giving of yourself, and in return, you're receiving lessons, so
Right.
that in giving we receive, and receiving we give.
Yeah.
It's really symbiotic, these relationships that you get to create.
Yes.
Great insight, because yeah, leaders should never stop growing, because
Yes.
like you say,
Right.
when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're pretty much done. So thanks. I mean, those were great insights, because it's interesting for me as well. And anytime I host a guest on our podcast, I can tell you, I always leave with 1, 2, or 3 lessons.
Uh-huh.
With you, I'm leaving with a few lessons. I guess maybe the most important one is to give a nudge, right? Be willing to give a nudge. And the second is to be able to brainwrite instead of just brainstorming and using a whiteboard as a different methodology,
Yeah.
to continue to learn and continue to really to engage your team,
Right.
because you can't lead if you have no followers.
Mhm.
And I think what you're suggesting there is such a great way to engage your team members
Mhm. Mhm.
and make them all participate, make
Right.
them all feel valuable, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And that is key, today, is making sure that you show appreciation to your team, give them the recognition they deserve. And especially as public servants, sometimes um, we're not always given the kudos. But being public servants, we really don't do it to get those pats on the back. We do it because of our passion to serve.
well, I know that you're very good at recognizing people. I mean, I get emails from you regularly when a team member has won an award from the library, or when Sloan won the video award recently. I mean, you do such a good job at recognizing the people that you lead, and I think that's another reason why you're an encourager. And though yes, they have tasks, you do it from this space of support and love for your people. And I would say that it's good for leaders to love their people, isn't it?
That's right. That's
Uh,
right. That is,
so any closing comment from you, Helen, today?
well, it was a privilege to be here today with you, Dr. LaMarche. Again, working with you and the Library Foundation, it really puts the library in a good light in the community. The support that we receive from you and the foundation has made our job so much easier, because you are the fundraisers, and you and the team have made it possible for us to provide so many valuable programs that are enriching the lives of the people that we serve. So we appreciate you and the foundation and the work that you do at Life University.
Well, thank you, Helen. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and a real honor to do some work with you. And I guess I'll close with a quote that I have sitting at my computer at my home, not where I'm sitting in my office at Life University currently, but at home. And it says, "Blessed are those who give without remembering, and receive without forgetting."
Mm.
And I would say you're a perfect example of that. You give, you give of yourself, and you serve, and you're never looking for anything. Actually, you're never looking for anything. And even when we take time to pat you on the back and congratulate you, you're always so humble. So thank you for the service that you provide our community, and the impact that you have on Cobb County and way, way, way beyond.
Oh,
It's
well,
been a
thank you so
pleasure
much.
to have you on today's conversation on leadership. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you.